Welcome to Disability Clinic, where we wear our disability pride on our sleeves, literally.
Disability Clinic's logo, a white Swiss cross with a rainbow zigzag representing the colors of the Disability Pride flag. Disability and chronic illness branding.
Do you think shifting the focus to more disability and chronic illness, has that kind of boosted the brand, or do you think it's kind of helped it stand out?
It's interesting, I really started looking for real stuff. And I'm not trying to bash any of the brands that sell stuff on Etsy at all. Like you do you. But if you look up chronic illness t-shirt or something like that, 99% of the time it's like kind of cheesy or like almost toxic positivity. And I use that in my advertising because like I just don't think it's that cute. Like it's not. Like I know what I go through.
You gotta filter out a lot of that
and
stuff.
it sucks.
Dr. Vane glances off screen at a pile of cute swag from Etsy.
Like I just like the same little like scripty font. It's like Crohn's disease. I'm like, it's not gonna work for me, So I was like, I'm gonna try to fill the void, and I'm gonna do this like emo goth alternative scene. Like I'm an emo kid at heart. I had blue hair, I had tattoos, piercings. Like I was that kid growing up, and I was like, I need to create something for that kid. I need something for Jamie back in 2006. What would he wear? And so I started making that. Realistically, I've kind of shifted my focus not away from the chronic illness community. I'm trying to broaden it a little bit more so that I have a couple other markets that I can really tap into. I realize that there's a lot of overlap. Like there's a lot of chronic illness friends that read a lot of books, and that's like a big Venn diagram here. So like you might see some book talk kind of bookstagram designs from me in the near future, and knowing that like it's the same person. I'm still speaking to my person.
I'm excited to see those. I'm also an avid book reader. I've got a whole bookshelf here. Well, you can see my VHSs and some of my Shakespeare stuff, but I have like a fantasy shelf down here.
Yes.
I'm like in the middle of this series right now, just random books.
One of the emo.
And I was going to say, like, you said you were sort of the emo kid in high school. I was kind of like the wannabe emo kid. Like, I'm even wearing fake gauges right now.
Been there. I don't have gauges. I do have an industrial. I do wear a dangly earring now. I never thought I'd do that, but I used to wear fake gauges a lot in college and high school.
I still think they're cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. Like, if you don't want to gauge your ears, cool, whatever. Like, you still look cool. That's fine.
Yeah, the look is what makes them pull off.
And I went to an all boys private school. So
ooh, fancy.
Yeah, I am not their target demographic, that's for sure. I was one of maybe like 5 musicians that, and like I know the kids that I went to school with that have tattoos now, and it makes sense, but like everyone else, I'm like, yeah, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a and I'm just
different paths in life for different people.
Yeah.
Broadening your audience.
I like that you mentioned that you're trying to broaden and kind of still stay as welcoming as possible, so that you're not just targeting the disability community, right? Because that can also be seen as reductive. It's like you're not targeting people just because they have chronic illness or disability. You want lots of different people to kind of resonate.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was trying really hard to make designs that would resonate with people for multiple reasons. I honestly, like, my marketing year 2 was very much like, here's the 4 things you're trying to hit, like something alternative, something mental health, something chronic health, and then something else, period.
Yeah.
So every design I had a list of like, this is kind of our marketing concept for this design. That got a little excessive. Now it's just, I want to tell stories. That's it. Because at the end of the day, being true and authentic to my story and being true and authentic to my customers' stories, like I take input from my customers every day. You get an email from me, I ask you if you could have anything on a shirt, what would it be and why? And I have in my phone, I got a note that's like 17 pages long of just ideas from customers and like little notes and stuff.
Makes your job easy, right?
It does, but it doesn't, because now I have to pick one, and
yeah,
like I have to like, okay, well, I just think that the idea of like, okay, so the burnt out shirt, like this surpasses anybody with just chronic illness. This is anybody who has work burnout. This is anybody who has, I'm a nurse at a hospital and I burn out, like all of those kinds of things. It's very generic, it's very broad, and it just hits a massive market. My back pain shirt, very blue collar, like it's an exploding spine, lower lumbar. you could probably
50%
name
of people
12
have experienced that.
exactly. So it's like I have tattoo artist joke all the time, like, oh, this is meant for tattoo artists because they're always leaning over people's bodies, and I'm just like, yeah, it is. It's for anybody who has back pain. And I wasn't prepared for so many people being very ultra specific, being like, oh, it's my C5, not my, L5 or whatever. I don't even know them. The
It's like,
vertebrae.
I'm sorry, I'm not an anatomist.
And so they're like, can I get this custom, like exploding up here? And I'm like, no, I wish I could.
Or
So now I'm
extra,
like,
maybe?
I gotta like go down the list and explode every single vertebrae.
Yeah, every
so
single
I can-
one. Which vertebrae are you?
Yeah, right.
The bigger picture, story through symptoms.
Which I could do. It just would take a long time. But
Yeah, maybe not the best use of your time.
so I'm trying to like, what is the bigger picture here? The bigger picture is that everybody has a story to tell. And originally it was me with Crohn's disease. I resonate with these 5 designs, right? Like these are my symptoms. So I rarely, very, very rarely will make a design based on an actual illness. I really only make them based on symptoms so that somebody with cancer, somebody with POTS, or somebody with whatever can relate to me,
Yeah.
or I can relate to them, or they can relate to each other. And it's like, now we're seeing a little bit more of a story of like, you're not alone, period. Even if you have a super ultra rare whatever disease that I don't even know the name of, somebody relates to you in this way, and this is why. And so that's kind of the major outlet that I've been trying to tap.
I love that. I love that you're like, let's do it with labels. It's not about the diagnosis. It's about your experience, what you're feeling, and what you need, which could be very similar to someone else, even if they seem very different or have a different label. And that's really what can really unite the community.
We are all patients who need healthcare.
I want to go back to something you said about, sort of the corporate world, those people who are doctors and lawyers, the people who don't have tattoos. And, I still appreciate that, obviously there's differences, right? Like there seems to be this kind of 2 sides of the desk, right? You've got the providers and then you've got patients. But what I try to kind of manifest and what I try to teach like my students and colleagues is that we're all patients, right? Like we're all humans.
Yeah.
We all need healthcare. Some of us just also happen to be providers and take care of other patients. So I'm trying to flip that narrative in my mind too, because I think that's really ingrained in our society.
It's easy to just revert back to that, that like at the end of the day, I'm a patient, I'm a victim. Like, and I don't like being a victim of a disease, right? Like I don't like being a victim of, I have PTSD as well. Like I don't like talking about it. I don't like constantly using that as a tool. Like, and I got really good at avoiding it. And for a long time, I was like, oh no, I can't do that because of blah. And that put me in a box alone with all my friends, with all my, my friends would make fun of me because like the first thing they'd be like, it's been 5 minutes. I'm talking to a new person. I've already mentioned Crohn's disease, and it's like, stop, dude, like just be you,
Yeah.
I was like, you're right. But at the same time, you're right. Like if my doctor was covered in tattoos, how would I feel about it? I personally would probably be like, that's my doctor. Like he gets it, but at the end of the day, there are doctors, there's surgeons, there's people that do have lots of tattoos that are just doing these big corporate jobs and like owning it, and we're just people.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting that you said like, using the diagnosis as a tool, not necessarily like intentionally or to a certain end, but just, having to live with this label that has affected your life, right? It's unquestionably part of your experience. So how can it not sort of color the way you, approach certain situations? Like be on the road, you have to think about your body.
For sure.
And to ignore that would not be good for you. And it's okay that that's part of your identity, but it's also okay for you to want to be separate from that or to be your own person who happens to have Crohn's, but it's not all you're about.
Advice for disabled brands and doctors alike.
Do you have any sort of advice or sort of things that you learned along the way that you might give to maybe another sort of disabled brand that's up and coming, or healthcare providers like me who are just trying their best?
Yeah, for an up and coming brand, you're going to have people that hate you. That's just a given, right? Like there's going to be people who don't like your service. There's going to be people who don't like what you're offering, and that's fine. Whatever. If they're taking the time out of their day to like be a nuisance, just block them, leave them. At the end of the day, I know that like because I'm so close to my business, it's very personal for me. I get defensive when somebody doesn't like something. And I actually worked through this in therapy, and it's the idea that like, are they commenting about you or are they commenting about your business? If it's
Yeah.
something like they don't like the style of shirt, that's not about me. That's about the style of shirt, and it's fine, right?
And it might be about them.
It is about
It's very much about
90% of the time. It is
Yeah.
about them. So I like my true advice would be just like ignore. Like those people, they don't get it.
Disabled success.
My hardest thing that I deal with on a day-to-day basis is, well, do you donate? Like that question, do I donate? Do I like put my funds that I make towards helping or advocating or whatever? But at the end of the day, like I am a for-profit business. And I think
Capitalist society.
there's a fine line between disabled success. And this is the hardest thing being a disabled business owner is when I'm small, you want to support me. But if I get too big, you've put me in a box because I'm disabled, right? Like the customer does essentially. Mm-hmm. And like, yes, support small businesses, support small disabled business owners, like great, but you're still a business owner. Your product still has to be good. Like if I said, hey, I made $1 million this year, I feel like there's a lot of people who would be like, what? But you're disabled, and it's just like, it's ableism. It's pure ableism for sure. And there's just like, I'm put into a box being like, I'm disabled, so I have to be below this level.
Right. Or if you exceed that, there's going to be people who still throw you hate, like, oh, you don't deserve that. Or like,
yes.
You should be helping the other, it's like, there's something still wrong with that. Like people can't just celebrate a bigger disabled company's success.
Yeah, it's crazy. I get asked all the time. It's like if I'm marketing towards a disease for a symptom, like if I say like, oh, I have a salty shirt for people with POTS or I will get comment after comment saying, well, do you donate to POTS research or whatever?
Right. This isn't good enough that you're.
And I'm like, okay, so if you saw a shirt that said salty at a Hot Topic, would you go to corporate and ask them to donate their money? And it's like, first of all, it's none of your business if I donate my profit or not. I do often. I do give back.
And you don't have to justify it. It's like if you didn't, like
there's several shirts that I say 10% of this will go to this, or 15%, or 100%. But my first shirt that I ever released, it said "fuck racism," and I donated 100% of the funds with my friend Brittany. Yeah, I see it. To my friend Brittany, and we donated 100% of the proceeds to Jubilee Art Center in Baltimore, which helps young African American boys get art classes, and it pays for their supplies, and it gets them off the street in a bad neighborhood. And we just did it because we can. One of my favorite quotes is from my buddy Alan. He has a podcast called Rebel Entrepreneur. I actually went on that podcast too, and he said, to do good, you have to make money. You can't do good if you don't make money. And this is probably one of the biggest struggles I see is people will be like, oh, without knowing their profit margins, without knowing how much money they actually walk away with, they'll donate it before. And if that's what you want to do, like you run your Etsy shop, 50% is going to go to Crohn's research, fine, cool, no problem with that. But if you're trying to run a business and make a profit, maybe build yourself up just a little bit more before. And like I learned the lesson hard. I was donating a lot of money and I didn't have it to donate.
Yeah, like that's not good business.
Real deal. So yeah, I mean, like that's probably the biggest issue is just constantly being bombarded with comments like that and just overthinking everything to be like,
am I surprising to me? But I feel like you really hit it on the head when you said it's this ableism, it's this bias, even within the disability community where whatever you're already doing, that's not good enough. They can't be proud of you and happy for you about that. There's still something more that you haven't done.
And I don't know if it's jealousy. I don't know. Like, I don't like to say it is, but like, there's definitely people who say comments are like this, the fact that you're profiting off of this sucks. And I'm like, okay, literally in my email, I have read this if you feel like crap. And I have a folder and I have all of these emails from customers saying like,
this is amazing.
Really deep, amazing things that I can't repeat because it's so powerful for me. And it's like, that's the stuff that gets me through, and it's crazy that we overthink the 1 or 2 or 3 people that say something mean compared to the hundreds and hundreds and thousands
Absolutely.
that say nice things, so it's like,
I know, what is that?
Negative and positive energy.
I feel like our like human biology, like our primitive lizard brains, we're conditioned to really remember the stuff that is not good for us, that's bad, so that it's like it really sticks
Yeah.
out, so we avoid it. But the good stuff, it's like, oh, I'm not under any harm, like whatever. I think that's why things can be so traumatizing. And then it really builds on itself, right? If you've already been scarred by something, a bad interaction or whatnot, like you're just even more primed and triggered if something similar happens again.
Yeah, it's like, it's social media is great and it's awful.
Yeah.
Seeing a comment pop in and be like there's a sinking feeling. Like I do get a sinking feeling like, oh God, please don't, like not today. It's like it's the hair on the camel's back. It's like that's the thing that's gonna the straw on the camel's whatever
Yeah,
the
straw,
saying
hair,
is,
whatever.
like this is the thing that's gonna ruin my day. And it's really a culmination of whatever has happened. But like it's a lot putting yourself out there, and you're putting yourself out there as an advocate, and that's crazy.
I was
It's crazy.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, I've had my fair share of assholes, or I don't know. I don't want to use bad words. I like to be a nice person. I like to not curse if I can help it. We're a friendly, welcoming, accepting
Yeah.
space, right? That's what I want to encourage. One of my mentors actually also gave me similar advice where it's just like, just have a no asshole policy. Like if someone is, treating you poorly, being negative towards you about whatever, it's like, just like you said, kind of
Get
ignore it,
out.
block it out. That boundary is so important because there's valuable feedback. Sometimes like there's constructive criticism where you're like, I want to be better. Like I don't want to harm people. It's like, of course you want to know if you're doing something that doesn't align with those goals. But if you're just not being served by someone's behavior, attitudes, comments, it's way healthier to just be like, you know what? I'm not going to take this personally. Like, I believe in my work. I want to just keep moving on.
If it's
It's
not
hard
for
to
you,
do.
it's not for you. I mean, that's just like as simple as it is for everything. If it's not for you, okay.
Yeah.
Like bye.
Hurdles in healthcare entertainment. Nobody cares.
That's been one of the hardest things for me, in my brand, which I wouldn't equate it to your brand because I don't know what I'm trying to do really. It's like healthcare edutainment is kind of
Yeah.
how I might summarize this. I'm trying to make, disability conscious education accessible to the wider public, especially healthcare providers. And I feel like one of my biggest hurdles is that nobody cares. Like nobody thinks this is a problem. Or even if they acknowledge it's a problem, maybe they don't think I need to watch this. Oh, Stephanie's doing her thing, but I'm okay. I'm pretty good. I don't need to
Yeah.
tap into this. Or they just don't have the bandwidth. They don't have the time, right? The system is overworking its healthcare providers. So, who has time to subscribe to a channel or like watch a 20-minute video? My shorts get a lot more views than my longer content. But I don't know how to overcome this except just this persistence of like, okay, one subscriber at a time.
Yeah, I mean
That's
it is though. I mean, like it really is. I will say that I got very, very lucky algorithmically early
Yes,
on,
praise the algorithm.
because TikTok at that time during COVID, everybody was on it,
Yeah.
like there's nothing to do. I was stuck at 99,000 followers. I could not break 100 for like 2 years. It was crazy.
Wow.
But it's like vanity. Like that's for me. That's not for anybody else. It doesn't actually, like that one extra 100 people, whatever it was, like doesn't mean anything. Like it really doesn't in the grand scheme. And sometimes we just need to hear someone else say something for it to just like get there. Like for me, like I'm not going to go into politics, but I watched something politically today and it was just a normal person saying their experience. And I was like, yeah, that's it. Like that's what I've been wanting to say, but I have not had the tools to like process because I'm doing all of this other stuff. And I think when it comes down to it, people are literally weighing their spoons, their energy on what they have to consume at this point. Like politics are huge right now. People are consuming a lot of it. So everything else is down. And so as soon as politics maybe level out, like other things will be consumed more, and like maybe people will start caring more about what Stephanie's doing or what I'm doing, and like when they say pull yourself up by your bootstraps, like this is what I'm talking about. Like just doing consistent work that you're motivated by, but also disciplined to continue. And that's the hardest bit, like being super disciplined to say, okay, I don't want to do this today. I don't like Two Crow Collective today, and I don't want to do it. But I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do that stupid thing that I need to do, like print back pain shirts. I don't like printing back pain shirts. they're really hard to print. They hurt my back, which is ironic.
It's ironic, yes.
It's like it's such a long design. I have to reach further, and like I'm hurting my own back in the process.
You got to shorten the design. We got to design with you in mind now.
Sorry, the spine's so small today. I just
Yeah.
needed it to be 16 inches instead of 30. It's people finding their own balance and finding us when they need it. Because like at the end of the day, what I do is it's not a need. It's really not. It's a want. People want my items. They don't need my items. Now they do say, "Oh my God, I need that," but that's a want, and we all know it. You know, it's like
I would say
think it
people
exists
need
fine.
things that they want. Like, is that fair to say? Like,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll agree to that. But on a like fundamental human level, like yeah,
Sure.
you need clothing, but you could just go to Goodwill and get
Right.
a t-shirt for $2. Like
Mhm.
you just want a cool one, and that's fine.
You want a cool one from a disabled creator who's an authentic small business.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I've been loving this conversation, and it's just awesome to connect with you and just have you share even just a fraction of your experience.
Including thoughts.
Do you have any sort of concluding thoughts? Any sort of things you definitely want to share or highlight at the end of your interview? Or we can just talk about like what music you're loving right now, anything you want to plug.
I will say that my old band that I'm no longer in just released some cool music. It's a band called Dead Eyes. They're going on tour in California soon in April, I believe. They've been blowing up ever since I quit the band. So you're welcome, boys.
Yeah, they needed that.
I set the table for you guys. No,
Couldn't have done it without you.
they do say that to me, so that's nice. I do love those guys. Shout out Zach, Jim, Eric, and Chris. Love you guys.
Yeah,
I'm just thankful that they didn't replace me. They just switched their lineup around, so it's good.
It's like there's a James-shaped hole in the band.
Yeah, well, for a while they left me on their photo on Spotify, so I was still kind of in the band, but not really. No, like Jim's my long-term best friend since childhood, so like there's absolutely no hard feelings. I'm way more creative with the business now than I ever have been, so I'm kind of replacing that void in my soul with other creative, which is good. I mean, therapy is great. Therapy is I do EMDR therapy for my PTSD, which I was very skeptical about, but it freaking works for me. And I think therapy should be more regular for people because it's amazing. But part of what I did in therapy was grieving the loss of music for me, like because it was a huge part of me, and realizing that grief is not just about death.
Yeah.
It's about loss in general of anything. And so realizing that like, yeah, I don't have music, but I do have all of this to soak it up like a sponge and just output cool stuff is huge for me. So that's been really good.
That's beautiful. Honestly, great closing. I love it. I'm so happy that you came on to have this conversation with me. It was lovely to meet you, and I would love to have you on again if you ever want to talk something.
Yeah.
We could even do like a deep dive on something music related, or whatever. Thank you so much for tuning into this conversation with James of Two Crow Collective. If you want to hear more conversations like this, hit that like button and subscribe to Disability Clinic for more entertaining and educational content. You can also join us on Patreon. Visit twocrowcollective.com. Check out their merch. You will find a piece of clothing, a sticker, something that resonates with you, and buy it. But maybe not the spine ones because James' back's not feeling that great today.
I'm literally wearing it right now.
Okay.
It's literally on my body as we
Yes,
speak. I didn't even realize it until right now.
We'll link more awesome resources down below, like Dead Eyes and Rebel Entrepreneur. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and learning. We'll see you next time.
Credits. Host, Stephanie Bain, MD. Producer, Audrey Murray. Social media manager, Amy Parsons. Production assistant, Travis Edmiston, MD. Editing production team, Space Green Productions. Post-production supervisor, Cora Linda. Editor, Spaceship. Logo design, Alexandra Jarvis. Title, animation, and credits, Spaceship.